Hello, and welcome to the Late Challenge, episode 54. Today we should mainly be talking about Liverpool 3, Burnley 1. It is an 8th week of the season that Liverpool end the weekend top of the league. The Reds are now a 2-1 shot for the title going into the second week of February, and they remain in contention for 4 bits of silverware. Not a classic game at the weekend, but job done. 3 points and on we go. And an important one that after last week's defeat, of course, and an important one also because Man City briefly went top of the league after beating Everton. So 14 games to go then, 42 points up for grabs, 54 in the bag already. Only 1 defeat now in 54 Premier League games at Anfield for Liverpool. So my little appeal to you out there is don't lose sight of the golden times we are in, and don't let the lingering fart of Man City spoil your perspective. Also, I saw something from Van Dijk and I just thought, this, like people say online, this. So Van Dijk, in case you missed it, said it's difficult to stay calm, but don't get nervous. We're all human beings. In the first half, when Burnley won a couple of moments, became a couple of times dangerous. You felt the crowd get a bit nervous, but that is how a human being is. We need everyone to realise that we have to find a way. We need the fans, we need the players, we need everyone to be ready in order to find a way to win the game. We will have setbacks and we will have moments of difficulty, but we have to deal with that and find a way. Like I said, we need everyone, also the fans. Let's enjoy the ride. I'm right behind that chat because I just think there's lots of stuff mainly created by things out of our control, i.e. what Man City do, what Man City have been doing, the fact that they just keep winning and they're lingering on our coattails. But I just think, fuck that, because, if you let that dominate your life, dominate your thoughts, you may as well not get involved with the Reds then, because right now, until the Premier League grows some balls and deals with those 115 charges, this is the reality we're living in. And all I want is to see Liverpool do everything they possibly can. And what I see is Liverpool are doing everything they possibly can. Keep overcoming adversity. We had more of it at the weekend with the flu. And, Alisson suddenly out, Gomez suddenly out. Kanate, of course, was suspended and things like that. But they've come through again. They've come through and come good for us again. So I'm behind that kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely. Well, and I think that's the thing that it's funny because each of the 3 front runners now has got a different argument as to why they could be favourites. I think now, especially Arsenal after beating us, and because I thought Arsenal might wobble against West Ham and that, that would fuck them up. But obviously they've gone the opposite way and their forward line started firing. Which there's an argument now that they're the team that's coming into that last lap of the race that we talked about last week, hitting their stride. City is City, and they've been hitting their stride for weeks now. The argument we've got for us, like if I was putting the pitch in of why we can win and why we might win, is I think of the 3 teams, we're the one that has got the most bottle. Like we're the one that has got the ability to get through adversity, and I'm not sure if this was happening. Well, we've seen City. Rodri goes missing for City. They're fucked. And we've seen it with Arsenal. Issues. I think if either of those other sides had had this many players out this often in the season, I know everyone's had their issues, and people will throw at me that City have been missing De Bruyne for most of the season and stuff like that. But we keep doing this time and again, where we're hit by adversity and we come through it. There's just something about the spirit in the camp and
100%.
And the togetherness, and it's been since the very start of the season, hasn't it? So that's the bit for me. And it's funny listening to Van Dijk saying all that. Like, we will hit hurdles. I was just starting to do maths now. Like, the most we can get is 96 points. And a few weeks ago, I was thinking, 90 points might win you this league this year. Maybe it still will. But now that City and Arsenal have kicked into gear, the most City can get is 97 points. Now, obviously, we both can't hit that maximum because we play each other.
Yeah. They play Arsenal as well.
And they play Arsenal. So I was actually looking at Arsenal thinking, that could suit us. because we could do with them going to the Etihad and getting a result, couldn't we? But I wouldn't rule out us just going on that run now. And just from now to the end of the season, it not actually being that pretty. Do loads of games like Burnley where you leave going. But I watched a lot of the City-Everton game, and I just think there's a lot of similarities in loads of Premier League games now where we've said this for so long now, but it's such fine margins. And you can, if you watch it, depends which lens you're looking at it through. I can imagine there's loads of Liverpool fans watch that Burnley game and were quite negative about it because Burnley had some big chances.
Yeah.
But if you watch City, like, all right, at the end they beat Everton 2-0, it looks quite comfortable. But it wasn't comfortable. Like, up until they scored their first goal, which just came out the blue, it wasn't comfortable at all. Like, they had the ball a lot, but they weren't doing anything with it. And it was lots of things we've complained about in the past, no shots on target and all stuff like this. So it's genuinely a fascinating title race, isn't it now? And especially now Arsenal have joined the pack. But I don't know. I think if we can hold our emotions, there's a lot of chat about that at the moment. We never actually got to the point last week about talking about the celebrations, did we? But I've seen Gary Neville again this week saying, and I'm with him, like, everyone who's on Carragher and Neville's back about talking about Arsenal's emotions. The point they were making is valid. Like, Arsenal ran out of steam last year, partly because it was way too emotional, way too early. You can't carry that for that long. And something we've always been quite good at is that sort of build-up of emotion into a season. Do you know what I mean? The Champions League, I think that's one of the reasons we're so good in the Champions League. We don't get overexcited early on. We just steadily build through, and then by the time we get to the quarters, the semis, and then the final, that's when we ramp it up. That's why no one wants to come to Anfield for a quarter-final or semi-final of a Champions League, because by then, we're ready for you.
Yeah.
If you come in the group stage, it's not going to be that wild. It'll be all right. It'll be a decent night. But by the time you get to the semi-final, we're going to fucking destroy you. And I guess when you were at the game, so I'll ask you this. My only concern on Saturday was it seemed like the crowd wasn't that up for it from the start.
But it wasn't a classic game. So, you know, going back to it, we talked about atmospheres so many times. And, like, I just think, like, you know, it's unreal. Some people have an unrealistic expectation of what it's going to be like. And, like, you know, with every disrespect to Burnley, that's not one of Liverpool's biggest games of the season. Okay, you can say the junction it's at in the season and how important it is that Liverpool win because of all the reasons I said at the top of the show. We should be up for it, underline. But look, you know, life isn't like that. And I just don't think, like, you know, I think lots of people looked at it and went, okay, you know, a record league crowd for Liverpool going into Anfield with, you know, more of the Anfield Road open now. It'll be booming and all that, but and like at times it was like it's like so many times, you know, it was up at moments and it was down at moments, but you know, lots of the game wasn't that good. The first half wasn't that good. Liverpool didn't move the ball very fast. They weren't that fluent. It wasn't that good of a game to watch. And as you referenced before, you know, Burnley had one or two chances that you probably would have said before and that they wouldn't get. I think, you know, Company referenced that himself, that, you know, they got more chances than you'd expect and then they didn't take them. And if you don't take them, you get punished. And that's how it unfolded. So that sort of didn't surprise me, if you like. And, you know, you talk about sort of, you know, how does it look on paper? We've got it there in front of me. You know, Liverpool 71% possession. Expected goals, 2.86 for Liverpool, 1.33 for Burnley. We have 25 shots. We have 10 on target. They have 9, 4 on target. We have 5 big chances. They have 4, which is the bit that we're probably a little bit surprised about. He scored a good header. And I guess the stuff that people were concentrating on media-wise was that it wasn't put to bed, you know, until that third one went in. You weren't truly sure that it's done and we've won the game and all that kind of stuff. But you know, we used the word adversity already. Well, there was more adversity. Kelleher's in goal. And look, he's done well. He's took criticism from Reds and including me at times. You know what I mean? At the other games he's played this season where I thought he didn't look great on some of the goals and things like that. But Saturday I thought he did well. There's 2 good saves at least in there from him.
Definitely.
Where you've gone, And there's one where he's really fast off his line as well. And, you're like, well in. He can feel like he's played a part in Liverpool getting the points there on Saturday. So, and then you've got things like, Curtis Jones ending up at right back. I think he was there against Leicester earlier on in the season. But by and large, I don't think anyone regards him as a right back. And yet there he is, second half. He's right back because Trent had to go off. So, it's constant adversity. I mean, Kelleher's in goal. You could tell, you don't need any bigger indicator that wasn't the plan, that he didn't even have the right shorts. He didn't have the Premier League shorts to wear. He was wearing the cuff ones, apparently. Because, no one, obviously, at the club is expecting that he's in goal. And it was only on the day that he was called in, apparently. Apparently, it was literally, Saturday that Alisson's gone, lads, you know what I mean?
Got the shits.
Yeah, there's no hopes here. It's not happening. So, I think a game when you talk about all these things that we keep emerging the other side of, that's the bit that I focus on. Because, in the, whatever it is now, 33 years, 34 years that I've been going the game, there's loads of games like that. From all the classic Liverpool sides as well as the bad ones, there's loads of games where you come away from it and you think there's not a lot to remember there. There's not a lot that's great. The main thing is we won. The main thing is we stayed in contention. We stayed at the top. We're literally top. That was all it was about. And so we've done that. We've ticked the box and we carry on. And I was happy with all of that. I want to talk about the sort of the adversity thing and the narratives that get sown, because I think another one was that we saw in lots of places and was spilling out a lot of people's mouths is, when Mo Salah goes to AFCON, and then obviously he's got injured on top of that as well. There was this idea that we were going to struggle, that we wouldn't win any games, that we'd fall out of contention maybe.
Yeah.
Because, the world-class talisman isn't there. And yet, the front three at the weekend are all on target, all a threat, all playing pretty well. Got the stats in front of me there. So, obviously all a goal, but, they've all got at least five shots on target. Well, 5 shots on goal. Diaz 5, Jota 6, Nunes 5. All got a goal, as I say. Jota 4 goals in his last 4 in the Premier League since returning from injury. On Boxing Day, he's got 6 goals and 2 assists in 8 matches. And yeah, it's January the 1st that Mo last played for Liverpool. And we're deep into February now, you know what I mean? As people are watching this, it's Pancake Day. It's
Pancake Day this week?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, and of course, as usual, people will be flipping in the comments, no doubt. But yeah, he's been missing for 8 games, Mo. So yeah, the 4-2 over Newcastle was his last one. So out of those 8 games, we've won 6. We've lost 1, obviously Arsenal away in the league, and we've drawn 1, Fulham away, second leg of the League Cup semi-final. So we scored 22 goals in those 8 games. Jota's got 5, Nunes 4, Diaz 4, Jones 2, Bradley, Szoboszlai, Gakpo, Van Dijk, Gravenberch, and then 2 own goals. It's not bad, is it? Again, do you know what I mean? 'Cause the thing I want to do, I'll probably give someone else an idea to write something. Now I'm struggling to find time to write things at the minute. I wanted to write a thing about detail the adversity all the way through the season, because there's been dodgy red cards. There's been what happened at Tottenham. No, you let it go. We're getting it in every week. There's been dodgy red cards. There's been what happened at Tottenham. There's been injuries. There's been players that we haven't even seen. Yeah, you know what I mean? Thiago comes back and then he's out for the season again. Yeah. That's probably the last we'll ever see of him. Bajcetic, not seen him all season. Yeah. Contributed well last season. There would have been plenty of times this season that we would have been... That would have been a great time to have him. He would have come in there. When you look at some of the lads that have had an opportunity, like McConnell and the other lad, Clark, things like that, he's in the side before they are. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And yeah, he's out injured. He's been missing. Matip out for the season. There's so much of it, and I don't really give a fuck. I I heard you do it before, and I've seen other heads do it where they go, I know other clubs, I don't really give a fuck what other clubs are doing. I'm not asked. I think about what is Jürgen Klopp doing week by week to make Liverpool win, to make Liverpool get 3 points, to keep Liverpool in all of these competitions. And I think he's done an amazing job that we are in the second week of February and we could win every competition we've entered. Now, what's the likelihood of that happening? Okay, probably not that high, if we're all being honest here. But while there's hope, there's possibility. And we're top of the league. We're in the final of the League Cup. We're still in the FA Cup. We're still in the Europa League. It's not bad, is it?
Not bad. It's funny, isn't it? Like, imagine if you said that. I've banged on about this for years, but like most football clubs in the country, if you gave them that, like a little summary of where you're on the season, they wouldn't go not bad. They'd go, greatest season we've ever had in the history of our football club by a mile.
We've been spoiled, that's why.
Yeah,
there's so long now that Liverpool under Klopp and under FSG, fuck it, I'm not even asked anymore. We've had it good. And like, I know there'll always be someone who'll say, oh, he only won one title or whatever. Like, if you can't see the context of what he's operating in, then there's no hope for you. So we've been competing from the day he's walked in, basically. We've been competing. We've been competitive. And I've always said that's all that I want. And then there's an extra couple of percent that you can't actually control. You can't actually, if you're fair-minded about it, say, and we could have done this, and we could have done that. You know, to be getting the points totals he's been getting, to win the league after 30 odd years, to bring back pretty much, you know, every trophy by Europa League, which we've got the chance of winning this season. I'm taking that all day personally. And as I mentioned there, and I mentioned it on purpose, the record we've had at Anfield, for all the time that I've been doing like fan media, I've always banged on about how you perform at home, because obviously it's massive. You know, it's massive in terms of the tradition of Anfield, the tradition of Fortress Anfield and all that kind of stuff. But it's massive also for the obvious point that it's where your paying punters see you play. Do you know what I mean? And okay, if you're fortunate enough to go to the aways and you can get on that particular, you know, carousel, if you like, you know, the closed shop of tickets for that. Yeah, it's doing me head in. Then sound for you. But for everyone else, like, if you're a match goer, Anfield's where you see them. So that's where you fall in love with them. That's where you back them. And they've been absolutely brilliant at Anfield under Klopp all the way through his tenure. So there's not been much to moan about. Of course, some people find something to moan about no matter what.
Yeah, well, do you know what? I was literally just about to say, well, to save you from like some comments, like obviously there was the blip in the COVID seasons and the 6 games and all that.
But even then, we sort of pulled it around to an extent, and you know what I mean.
Look, that just showed you what the power of Anfield and why it is so important, and partly like what you're talking about. But do you know what? It's funny you should mention all this, because I'm going to throw myself open to just getting slaughtered by the usual FSG haters. But I was thinking about that. I don't know why it just popped into my head, because I was thinking about some of the points you're saying there over the weekend. And I'm sure I saw, and again, I might get this wrong so people can slate me for it, and I didn't check it and all the rest of it. Yeah, but we're just having a chat. FSG in America, apparently the Red Sox fans aren't happy with them there either. And I think since they won the World, they brought the World Series back to Boston for the first time in however many years it was, a long time. And since then, I think they've won 3 in that time, including that first one. And people are dissatisfied with how they've run the club, and they're not investing enough and stuff. But in the time that they've won 3, no one else has won that many. Do you know what I mean? And I was just thinking about, just generally, like philosophically, like if you choose to be a football club owner or a football manager or a football player, or do anything that's in the public eye where you're trying to bring joy to people, what you're up against is that the vast majority of people who live in the Western world are negative. So they'll always be looking for the negatives. So no matter how well you do, sooner or later they're going to go, it's not good enough. And you're like, that's bullshit though, isn't it? Like, we look at what we have done though. Forget what we haven't done, right? Forget all the criticism. Look what we have done. Like, not only have we we brought all these trophies back. We brought this manager in. We've brought this, like, we created this structure because we did that as the ownership. We've also redeveloped Anfield. Like, your previous owners, including the ones who are from, like, nearby, by the way, who were going to fucking knock down Anfield and build a fucking, like, empty, like, atmosphere, like, paint by numbers stadium, like the fucking Reebok back under Parry. I remember seeing the designs for that in the law firm I was in, the Parry Bowl. And I remember looking at it and thinking, and then it took fucking other American owners to come in and go, why wouldn't you keep a cop? And the fucking locals going, oh yeah, that might be a nice idea. FSG have come in and redeveloped our home, kept us in Anfield and turned it into this fucking modern, like, massive. There'll still be people who complain it's not big enough. I get that.
Yeah, always, of course.
Over 60,000 now. Basically going to be the biggest Anfield has ever been. Ever. Under their ownership. And they've done it sustainably. They've done it without, like, putting the club at risk. Like, if they left tomorrow...
And a training ground where everyone's on the same site.
Exactly. They're
not getting a bus.
Yeah.
From Kirby to Melwood or whatever.
And as a result of that structure and everything they've done, we've got this fucking conveyor belt of kids coming through who, when you see them drop into the side, it's like, I remember back in the day when the academy was a thing, when the likes of Owen and Gerrard were coming through, it was, oh, you've got to look out for this kid. You've got to look out for this kid. There are so many kids coming through now. They almost get like, it's like, oh, it doesn't look, I was reading before, it was Neil Jones' piece, couldn't even tell you the kid's name, but it said another lad who's like 17, who everyone's like, keep an eye on him at the academy. He's fucking great. There's fucking loads of them now. Connor Bradley comes into our side and it genuinely, and look, I might just be showing my naivety. I didn't hear any other Liverpool fan saying to me, watch out for Connor Bradley. Like, he was on loan at Bolton last year. He's going to be unbelievable. He's dropped into the side and just been a revelation. I don't give a shit what anyone says. Like, I've seen
player
people
of the season or whatever there, wasn't he? But even then, it's like, you know, it's a couple of levels below, you know, what he's couldn't, you know, there's still like, okay, so he's shown some potential then. But to like come in and to play in a position where, you know, you've got Trent, who's one of the stars of the team, and to just come in and be like owning it and have the confidence and get stuck in and, you know, sort of score a goal, you know, putting great balls in and all this, and just sort of own it. Just be like, yeah, I know I'm playing at Anfield. I know the history of the club. None of it weighs on my shoulders whatsoever because, well, A, he deserves his own credit, but B, the coaching's got to take some credit. The manager's got to take some credit because, you know, his parents, everything. Because how many times you see them come in and burn under the light, if you like, basically. I mean, you know, we've had players that we've paid a shitload of money for that have come to Anfield and shit themselves and not being able to stand the pressure or, you know, the general gravity of playing for Liverpool. It's unbelievable what he's done in a short space of time.
Look at the direct comparison. Look at what's going on at Chelsea. They went out and spent a fucking £1 billion on loads of young players. And you watch their side and, okay, sometimes they look good. Half the time they look lost. And they've had a series of good coaches now. Like, yeah. So all of a sudden, Pochettino's shit, is he? Like, Graham Potter has always been showing up. And this is going a long way round here to come back to your point of it's amazing what we've been witnessing and this era that we've been living in. And of course, like, Klopp's obviously a massive part of that. And it's just interesting, isn't it? That the reality is, and this just goes for everybody's life, isn't it? And all of us in the world, it is whatever you want it to be. Like, if you want to sit there and say it wasn't enough, like we didn't win enough leagues and therefore you're disappointed, well, sound. Like, whether or not we end up winning the league this year, and obviously it would be brilliant if Klopp gets that second league title, and that would put us on level terms with United as well, wouldn't it? Which would be a nice way for him to go out. Obviously, that would be better than us not winning the league. Sounds like a fucking ridiculous thing to say, but he says himself, like, he's lost more finals, he's finished runner-up way more than he's ever won. But if that's the way you view life, it's always going to be shit. Everything's going to be shit. If we just look at it the other way around and go, we won the league for the first time in 30 years. We said a couple of weeks ago, there was a time I was looking at it thinking, it might not happen this, you know. We might never win the league again.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, 100%. There was plenty of times.
Because, by the way, there's plenty of teams like that who've stopped counting how long it is since they won the league because it doesn't look like they're ever going to do it again.
But, like, you know, I had this all the whole time I was at the Anfield app, and then, you know, like, since you've been doing this, I've largely managed to swerve it because there's not many people when you're challenging for everything, and you know what I mean. Like you the other season when we're like going further and closer to a quadruple than anyone ever did before, deeper into the season. If you're like, okay, we end up with the 2 cups and not the 2 big ones, but nevertheless, it's still an achievement whether you like it or not. But largely like the swivel-eyed among the our support, haven't had a lot to swivel their eyes about, have they? So the sort of to quote James Pearce that time, the FSG out boys will be quiet tonight. They have been, because surely now when you look at some of the shit shows that are being created at other clubs, and you don't have to look very far for that, they look better. They look even better now. Do you know what I mean? Like, look, we did things at length on the Wrap, and I wrote at length on the Wrap about FSG and the good and the bad and the ugly of FSG. I think I pretty much used that title about 3 or 4 times at least when I was there, because my aim is always to just try and be fair about these things, and sometimes, most times, there's some grey. And you mentioned that season, where we went off the rails a little bit and all that. Like, their conservatism nearly cost us that season. In terms of like, running around like, buying from Lidl last minute for centre halves that should never have been at Liverpool. Should have just like open the purse strings and like try and kept that season alive. And there's been other moments like that there's no doubt about it. And I think Klopp's into that himself, hasn't he, fairly recently? Of course, there have been times where he's been frustrated with them, and that applies to me and to my mates and to every Red I know. But by and large, you surely look at the period where they've been owners, as you say, and you look at the ground, you look at where the club is, you look at the revenues, if you want to do that, if you're interested in that, you look at the players that have played for Liverpool, you look at the fact that Klopp's here, they have had a part, surely, in all of that. And no, I've never been paid by any of them. No, I've never, the only one, and even then it's not one of the central figures. I've met Billy Hogan during my time at that app. All I really remember him saying to me was that I swore too much. He didn't really say anything about my views one way or another on FSG. So, some of the nonsense that we've had over the years, doing this type of stuff about it all.
Do you know what's actually funny? It's funny that people
have you seen that? Like, there's still people like that, though, isn't there?
Yeah.
They're the reason Klopp's going.
Yeah.
Where does it say that?
Yeah.
How do you know?
Literally, said himself, it's not. Yeah. And look, all right, he is allowed to like us, but it's funny just even on that joke, the point that we literally get accused. And it's funny because we never actually stop to address it directly. We literally get accused of being paid by John Henry. And you might bit about, like, just think that through. So, like, if you're out there and you think people like me and Robbo, who try to be reasonable to FSG, and that often leans towards they've done a fucking good job, especially in comparison to what else you could be getting out there. If you think so, you think we're saying that because John Henry phoned us once. What did you think he did? Did he phone us or send us an email? And he said, like, all right, Copey, see you're on a podcast and I'd like you to say nice things about me. So I'm just going to send you a few quid. How much would be enough? And I say to him, well, do you want me to say it like consistently?
No, the tin hat thing, was always that, because I used to always put it on Twitter and I capitalise it and everything. Access.
As you said, then I had to stop myself going to your access. As you said, you met Billy Hogan. But even that, you're like, so what? Your point is what? We get to do the odd interview if we don't say bad things about them. Why do you think John Henry's a fucking billionaire hedge fund owner? Do you think he's got time to be phoning up and emailing little podcasts that mean fuck all to him?
But also micromanaging to that extent.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
He's too busy.
So let's follow the path of the tin foil. So he gets in touch with the people who work directly with Klopp and the people who decide what media he does and doesn't do, and says, okay, Gareth or Copey has been speaking positively about us enough now to trigger the interview.
Yeah. So give them an interview with Klopp.
So when we go away this summer, if they're out there, because they don't ever know that we were, because we never, obviously we communicated once we were there. Yeah. I mean, the fact of the matter is,
it's like a naughty list and a nice list, isn't it? It's like he's Santa. So like you're out on the pre-season tour, and you come up and say, "Can we have an interview? Can we have 15 minutes with Klopp?" And he goes, "Red Men TV. No, you're on the naughty list, lads. Last year you said we didn't spend enough money." It's
just ridiculous, isn't it? And it always was ridiculous, and it always will be ridiculous. What's even more ridiculous is that if you'd engage in the debate on the likes of Twitter, cesspool of Bellendry, people go all night with it. I've had it where I've done it. I've done it. I've done it, and had people say to me like, you don't need to do that. And I've gone, but I want to be transparent. I want to try and like say like, really. Like you think I'm going to take a backhander to say something that I don't believe in? Nah. Like if I ever did get that email or I did get that phone call, imagine how great that'd be. Get on this. Here's an email I got off John Henry where he tried to control what I say.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. That'd do numbers, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, absolute nonsense. And look, I've all eyes on them now, isn't it, about sort of what the next move is when Klopp does go, which we now know is going to happen. We'll come on to that. We're going to talk about possible next manager and all that, but just to do a bit more of the Burnley stuff. I mentioned the forwards. Just a bit more on that, really. 12th goal of the season for Núñez. 4 goals and 3 assists in the last 10 for Diaz now. Good impact from Elliott. I thought, he comes on second half and sort of, all the stuff that I said about the first half earlier, about it being slow and not direct enough and not even entertaining enough. He's brought that so many times this season to Liverpool, mainly as a sub. And I'm sure like at 20 years old, he doesn't want to be, he doesn't want to be cast as a super sub. But that's what he keeps doing. He keeps adding energy to Liverpool performances from the bench. He comes in, he's forward thinking. He plays it forward. He's rushing round. He's making things happen. He's getting in the box. Essentially 2 assists, albeit one takes a bit of a nick before it reaches Diaz. And, still 20 years old. So, again, there's like I see some fans that for whatever reason don't rate him or look at the negatives or talk about his height or his pace or whatever. For me, I go to the match, I see Elliott come on and I'm like, good. This is a man there's a lad who can help change the game. And him and Jones were great second half, I thought. Yeah. And quite key to, us winning the game.
Yeah, it's funny, the whole super sub thing, isn't it? Because it's like, well, what's the preference? If you are Elliott and you're not getting in the first team, well, you're not going to come on and not try and make an impact, are you? So it's almost a bit of a catch-22. But he's just got to trust that he is only 20 years old. And if he's having this impact off the bench and contributing so much to what we do at this age, that's just going to naturally lead to more starts for him. That's just the way it is. He's getting better and better. His energy off the bench is phenomenal. And to have that impact at that age, we do this a lot still. Like, me included, you just lose sight of how young someone is. Like, because we're so used to that as well. We're so used to these young kids, basically, coming on and playing for us and being really, really good. And he basically changed the game on Saturday. And again, going back to what you said before about the adversity, we didn't bring him on through choice. He came on because Trent picked up another knock. Klopp looks around the dressing room and goes, fucking hell, like, what am I fucking doing here? We've got to play Curtis Jones right back. Elliott comes on in midfield. And the two of them, as you say, and everyone, I think, again, there's people still out there criticising Jones, apparently. I just don't see it. I just can't.
No, I don't get that.
I can't see it. But again, another young lad, a local lad. Fucking, the other side of it is they love playing for this football club. That's the other thing. Yeah. When I look at Chelsea and I think of what their strategy has been, to do the direct comparison, what's their strategy? How many of those lads in that dressing room are like, I'd sweat blood for Chelsea? And how many are going, well, I've got an 8-year contract now, so I'm sorted. And who gives a fuck, to be honest? Like, it looks like they'll just keep sacking the manager. So, and it's a bit like that at United, isn't it? Well, we've had enough of this manager now. Let's just fucking get rid of him. And we've seen that at clubs time and again over the decades. We've got lads like Harvey Elliott who clearly fucking love playing for Liverpool. Well, that's amazing. And he's got the ability and he can contribute the way he does. Has he had that assist taken off him for?
I don't know. I was just, the only reason I threw that caveat in is I don't know. I haven't looked that up. But I thought if I say he's got 2 assists, someone will say,
yeah.
One wasn't one because it took a nick. But Curtis Jones at right back. Yeah, you mentioned Neil Jones before. Neil Jones put in his roundup and check out Neil's stuff. He's doing some good stuff over on Substack this season. He wrote, he won, regarding Curtis Jones, he won possession back as often as anyone, created more chances than anyone except Robertson, played more passes into the final third than anyone, and finished with a pass accuracy of more than 90%. Now, I was reading a national newspaper report this morning about Liverpool. Someone had put in the comments that Jones played well, and one of the replies to that comment was, I still don't rate him. Which is exactly what you just said.
But it's what's funny, that'll be a Liverpool fan saying I don't rate him. Actually, if you look at, like, even, it's even sort of, I always think it's interesting when this happens, when it makes like Match of the Day, when it makes Football Focus, when it makes Sky, where they start talking about someone they haven't talked about before. No one was talking about Curtis Jones in the national story before. Now there's people saying, should he be in the England squad?
I know.
In an era when we've got an unbelievable amount of quality midfielders. So it's mad that the person who said, I still don't rate him, is not going to be anything other than a Liverpool fan, is it?
But also as well with Curtis, I think, like, he's increasingly becoming like, a bit of a Swiss Army knife type player, isn't he? So, we see him at right back there. He's played defensive midfield. When he first breaks into the team, when we know of him in the youth team, he's a player who's like above his age, sort of taking the piss, showboating, Rabonas, putting things top in, bending that one in against Everton, all of that kind of stuff. And he's undoubtedly got all that stuff still in his locker. But Klopp has made him appreciate the team and the bigger picture, and the fact that if you want to get regular minutes in my side, you need to respect the system, you need to be adaptable, all of these type of things. And surely by now he's proven that he is exactly those things. But every time we talk about him, people come out of the holes and say, "Oh, loving for Curtis Jones again." Why? Is it because he's a Scouser? Nah, it's because he's playing for Liverpool and he's doing well, and he's a good footballer.
Well, that's it. It's as simple as that for me. And it's funny because I think he's also doing something that we saw Gerrard do, and we saw especially someone like Carragher do time and time again in his career. When Gravenberch first played for us, when he first came in, and he had a couple of performances where he's like, fucking hell, this lad's a player, isn't he? I think we all started saying, yeah, his ceiling's higher than Jones's. What's happened as the season's gone on? Jones has watched him come into the squad and gone, you're not having my place. And he's upped his game. He's become, even Klopp references it now, he's adapted his game so well that Klopp laughed in an interview the week saying, Curtis Jones is our main man. Leading the press, understanding the tactical nuances of what we're trying to do. And he laughed and went who'd have thought that a few years ago? That's how much he's developed. So now, someone like Ryan Gravenberch, who we've brought in for a few quid and everyone highly rates, you're behind Curtis Jones, mate. And he had to do that with Elliott. When Elliott was above him a couple of seasons ago and was clearly favoured above him, he's just got his head down and he's worked. And that is very much Carragher-esque, isn't it? Carragher would be like, here's a new lad joined our squad, sound. Yeah. You're not having my place.
Yeah, 100%.
Which again, that then goes back to what we were saying before about what makes this squad and side so likely to win. It's that attitude.
It all feels like, they've got a collective battle and an individual battle, and then there's the Klopp, there's the Klopp leaving thing thrown into the mix, the last dance thing and all that. But even Endo. Endo's back in the side and, gets a bollocking early on off Virgil. But then that aside, he's come in and he looks comfortable now. He looks like a Liverpool player now. And he's someone that, we've picked up for in relative terms, buttons, where a lot of us, including us, I think at the time, certainly me anyway, I don't know, speak for you, we're like, the fuck's this? Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Stuttgart. Who's this fella you've bought? Why did no one else want him? And, like, even, like, I remember being cynical about even when, like, that bit of footage came out about, where Klopp's saying to him, like, oh, we need you type of thing. And you're just like, we know that you didn't really want him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The record bid went in for Caicedo. The bids went in for Lavia or whatever his name was. Is that his name?
Yeah.
And we did, and then we didn't get him. And then, to use the Lidl thing again, we're running around Lidl and, oh, you'll do. But he's come in, he's picked up. And again, all of these things, the way that keeps happening or has kept happening under this group of leadership, Klopp and his coaches, like, well, A, that deserves loads of respect. And then B, you kind of being a little bit worried about, everyone just leaving at the end of the season, completely clearing the board and another group coming in. But as I keep saying, and it's a new catchphrase for us, isn't it? We'll come on to that. What else? Yeah, I mean, we've got to mention, and we did mention already, didn't we? That the Fofana misses midway through the second half. That could have obviously made the game a little bit different, but it didn't. So fuck it, we move on. We won. The Reds are top of the league, and that is a great thing. The adversity-wise, 9 players unavailable for the match, and by half-time it was 10. 2 keepers on the bench as well, which shows you sort of how much we were digging down into the squad. And yeah, luck-wise, that's that couple of percentage thing I was talking about before. You can't control luck. You know what I mean? You can't, you can look at players' histories and you can say, okay, he's had a history of injuries or whatever, so we won't buy him, or we won't give him another contract, or he's getting a bit old, so we'll move him on and we'll get it. But there is still obviously a luck aspect to injuries, isn't there?
Yeah.
And I think it's surely fair to say we haven't had fucking much of it this season. And yet it keeps happening and we keep winning by and large. Only 2 lost all season in the league, and one of them's an absolute fucking stitch up. No, you let it go. So I just think, like, I was going to say, I hope people can keep that perspective. I know they won't. Do you know what I mean? Like, if Liverpool don't win this league, there'll be a lot of people who will kick off about it. And that is like the modern way, isn't it? And that is why, like, footy's been skewed by all this Man City bollocks. And that is the side of the modern game and where we are that I absolutely hate. Because there should be more, for me, there should be more people who have the perspective of, well, fucking what a battle we put in. And I'm not writing off that we're winning it, by the way. I think we can win it. I'm back to what I said the other week. I'm looking at the 14 again that we've got left and going, well, why not?
Yeah.
City won't want to come here. Let's fucking win the lot. Do you know what I mean?
Well, imagine what Anfield would be like for that game.
Can't wait, I was thinking about it the other day, and I was just thinking, all these like atmosphere, like debates we had, and we might touch on it before. It'll be a belter for that. Can't wait for that.
Well, going back to what you said before, my only surprise was, because I'm with you 100% on, like, obviously that's just games. Like, Burnley at 3 o'clock on a Saturday, historically, is never going to be a great game. But what surprised me a little bit was, I suppose it just shows you human nature, doesn't it? Like, as soon as we had the Klopp news, everyone was like, well, every game at Anfield's going to be a belter now, because every game we're going to be, well, Klopp's only got 10 games left, 9 games left, 8 games left. You might never see Klopp again. You'll make it a belter. Yeah. And it just shows you how quickly that falls away.
Yeah,
when everyone's like...
someone messaged the other week saying, you should mention, lads, that like sort of every time it's someone's last time of seeing a Klopp managed Liverpool, such a the scarcity of tickets. But it's just not sustainable. Like, no. Is there a club anywhere, across Europe where, like, there's this atmosphere that people demand? There's those weird manufactured ones with, like, loud hailers, and that's never been what we've had at Anfield.
No, that's not good anyway, is it?
Yeah, I don't think it's what we want now.
No.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not our tradition, it's not our culture to have someone with a loud hailer facing into the crowd, not even watching the match, and like orchestrating some kind of noise. That's never been what Anfield's been about. So yeah, I think we'll be all right on the atmosphere side, but it's just not going to be there for 90 minutes at every single game.
Yeah, well,
it's there when it's caught. It's there when it's needed, though, isn't it? Like you said before, if it's a big game, if it's a big moment, and they need us to be there, then we turn up.
Yeah, and look, the other thing about it is, which is funny, loads of people moan and have done moan for years that like not enough Saturday 3 o'clock games anymore, because that was traditionally when footy was. But actually, when you stop and look at it, people used to moan about that because that's when footy was and that's when everyone was used to it. But actually, for a boss atmosphere, Saturday at 3 o'clock is not a good time for a footy match, because it's right in the middle of your afternoon on a Saturday. And guess what? Everyone's got stuff to do. So, like, when it's 5:30 on a Friday night, that makes it easier for everyone to going for a bevy, go in the match. My whole night's about Liverpool. But we know what it's like to have other responsibilities as you get older.
Very much so,
and it's like, fucking hell, I've got to get the match here.
Yeah.
Well, I've got to go to B&Q in the morning first, and then I've got to go to the shops. I've got to go to supermarkets and do the week. And the missus wants this, and my husband wants this, and the kids need that. I've got to take the kids to footy. Well, all of a sudden, it's your whole day isn't about making sure there's a great atmosphere at Anfield. You'll go and you'll do your best. But when it comes to Man City playing us, whenever that is, because they'll clearly rearrange the kickoff time for that, then that will be everyone.
Sunday 10th of March.
Has it been changed already?
Well, that's what it's down as at the moment. I don't know if it's been changed. I can't keep track of that these days. But it's Sunday 10th of March. Is Liverpool v Man City. I wanted to mention character as well, because the manager mentioned it, and also some people will remember a debate going back in time on the Anfield app between me and Neil about character. I've always been one that says character is a thing.
Neil said it wasn't.
Well, we had an argument about it, yeah. You know, I think it was when Liverpool lost to Watford, and like I basically said, like there are some players in the squad, in the team, that for me are lacking some character. And then we had a big row about it, and people loved it, like because, you know, rows on podcasts make for good listens, but, you know, like, you can't manufacture a row, or you can, but I'm not going to.
Yeah.
I mean, just to go off on a tangent for a second, as per our want on this show, when you were talking before about being negative, you know, like, there's people who comment positively about what we do and say, I'm surprised that, you know, you lads don't have more followers or more subscribers or more views or whatever. I think it's because we try and be fair about it and fair-minded about it. And if we were more screamy and more shouty and said every week someone wasn't good enough and that we wanted them out and all that kind of stuff, like some daft blades do on these platforms, I'm sure we would have more followers, subscribers, etc. I'm not going to do it. Don't want to do it. Bollocks to it. If you want to watch angry men shouting about black reasons why they wound up, go for it. But yeah, character. He said, I have no problem fighting hard for a result. This is Klopp. It was about how much character we could show, and the boys showed exactly what was needed. And that's the thing again about this group of lads. Like, you know, you said there about, it feels like it means something to a lot of them for different reasons. And I think that's part of it as well. You know, the people they've recruited, by and large, have shown character. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I think that's no coincidence. Like, you know, Klopp is involved probably more than ever before in terms of recruitment these days. And the people he's got in, the people he's promoted from the academy, etc., they do all seem to have that extra bit of in them, don't they?
Yeah, it's funny that you've referenced this about, like, I can't believe anyone would argue with that point. I remember, it reminded me, I had an argument with a mate about 10 years ago, 15 years ago, about psychology in sport at elite level, and said, it's just, Joe, at some point it's mainly psychology. And he went, oh. Yeah. And I went, it's mainly what's going on between their ears inside their own head. And he was like, that's bullshit. And we were talking about golf. And I went, so you're telling me, like, the top golfer in the world, if he's got a 3-foot putt on his practice green in his back garden, isn't sinking that putt every single fucking time? What's the difference between that and him sinking the same putt to win the Masters? What's the difference? Physically, it's the same thing. Physically, he's got the same level of skill. It's not an issue for him, like, to just do that, is it? The difference is the psychology and the stress and the pressure. And he was like, nah, it's bullshit, that. I was like, I don't see the point in continuing this conversation if you can't acknowledge that. For me, it's the same with character. Like, Of course, that's the thing.
Of course it is.
Like, and it is something we referenced on a Patreon show a few months ago now, didn't we? Like, right, is it Ryan Lowe, the Preston manager, who is no knobheads policy? And we said Klopp clearly has something similar. Like, I want a certain type of person to play for me, which to me makes absolute sense. Like, if you have one bad apple in your squad, it's going to fuck things up. And even then, like, and it's funny that anyone would argue about this because you see ex-pros talking about it, and the only players they would accept, Keane and the likes of Keane and Neville talking about Cantona, for example, they would accept an Eric Cantona who didn't work as hard as everybody else because he would pull them out of shit. He had character in a different way. He would lead them. He would pick them all up. He would score important goals. That's a different type of character to, I'll just run my bollocks off for you. Carragher made a great point on the show they do last week where he said, whenever they sign someone, if they started well, he'd always be thinking, I'm going to wait and see until you hit your first bad patch. Because that's the test. He said, if someone was in the squad with me playing for Liverpool and had a bad patch and came through it, then I'd be like, he's a fucking player. Because that's the character. That's what you need to play. And this is the thing, isn't it? We've seen this time and time again watching Liverpool. How many times have we seen, and it's not just us, I'm sure Man United fans would say the same about them, Real Madrid fans would say the same about them. There's a young lad, or mine doesn't even need to be a young lad, a player is great at another club, great at like a mid-level club, and then they move to a side like Liverpool and they just can't fucking hack it.
Yeah.
They can't take the pressure of, you've got to do it every week, mate. Whereas, I'm referring lots of different ex-players here. I heard Ferdinand talking about it, when he joined United, and he said it was just a fucking wake-up call. Because he said he left Leeds thinking, I'm the man. Like, I'm the most professional, I'm the hardest working, blah, blah, blah. And he said, I got to Man United and it was just a different level. He said, and all these legends of the game that I walked into the dressing room with, it was clear to me why. It wasn't acceptable to drop your standards. They had to have that character. You had to step up.
And that's what you would guess has gone on all of those times when we've gone, oh, we've signed such a body, and then Klopp hasn't played them. You know, like, so Andy Robertson comes in. Now, you know, his song's probably belted out, you know, longer and harder than any other song because the Kop, the ground, Anfield, Liverpool fans, we all absolutely love him. When he came, you know, he wasn't getting a sniff, was he?
Yeah.
You know, didn't put him in the side. Even Fabinho had to wait for his chance, didn't he? So you can only guess that was happening at Liverpool. They're coming in, and the manager's looking at them and going, not ready yet, them. And, you know, mentioned Endo there. Like, now I would say he's up to speed. Now he's doing a good job for the side. Now I'm glad to see his name on the team sheet. When he first come in, he looked off it. He looked like he looked like a fish out of water, didn't he?
Yeah.
So it took him a while to see what the standard is and get a grips with it. But he's got to get fair play to him. Now he seems to be like taking the steps to, you could imagine him being like a bit of a cult hero now for the Reds. You know what I mean?
But that's what character is, isn't it? Character is sink or swim. In those moments, what are you going to do? When Ryan Gravenberch comes in, Curtis Jones, what are you going to do? Are you going to put your head down and say, I want to leave? Or are you going to say, no, fuck you. Exactly. I'm going to show you how good I am. When you're Andy Robertson and you've moved to Liverpool, are you going to say, no, fuck it, I've come here to prove myself? And look, he's been criticised in recent times, but Jordan Henderson, perfect example, wasn't it? And he, people might not, I actually feel sad, really sad that his like legacy has been tarnished by what's happened. But think about Henderson and that era that we went on to win everything. His character summed it up. Like Brendan Rodgers goes to him, I want you to move to Fulham so I can have Clint Dempsey. And Henderson goes, no, I'm not giving up on my Liverpool career. I deserve to be here. I'm going to show you I'm good enough. Watch. And Klopp comes in and he's the fucking captain. He's the captain who followed Steven Gerrard. And that level of character, and think about those players, the Milners, Lallanas, all players like that. And the ones he got rid of early on, he was like, you're just not right.
Yeah. And of course it's a thing because, you know, there's varying degrees of it, obviously, isn't there? Like, so there's an argument to say anyone who's made it as a pro has got character. And I will agree with you to an extent because to reach that level, the sacrifices you've had to put in, you know, it's never just talent, is it? It's like, it's hard work and talent to get. But then at what point does your character start to wane a bit or run out? Like, who's got bucket loads of it? Who's got so Gerrard, how can you not say when you watch Steven Gerrard leave Liverpool that he didn't have character? Of course he had talent, but he didn't fucking give up. He was smashing into tackles. He wouldn't give up. He kept going. He kept trying to drive Liverpool on. Carragher was similar to that. That's why Carragher played so many games for Liverpool. I mean, I don't think I'm doing I don't think I'm doing him down to say he's not the most talented defender we've ever had at Liverpool, and I don't think he'd have a problem with that himself. But one of the reasons he played that many games for Liverpool was a lot of it was down to his character, the bootle in him, the fighting in him. Do you know what I mean? And and as I said in that argument all that time ago, I don't know how you don't see it. Do you know what I mean? Of course it's there. Moyes, Moyes apparently his job's under threat now, which doesn't surprise you when you look at who owns West Ham. But I heard a quote from him, and I don't like Moyes. I've said that loads of times, obviously. But, they get beat 6-0 by Arsenal. But one of the things he said, and obviously he's having a pop at the players, but he said, we've had worse West Ham sides than this one, and they wouldn't have let that happen.
Yeah.
And then I listened to fans talking about the performance, and they just said they weren't asked. Basically, they give up. And I heard I think it was Perry Groves talking about it, and he said the same, because it was 4-0 at half time, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And on the radio they were saying about there was a time when Arsenal were 4-0 up against Newcastle at half time and it ended up being 4-4.
Yeah.
And Perry Groves was laughing, saying oh yeah, well in for pulling that one out. He said that's not going to happen today because that fight's not in West Ham. He said that Newcastle side you're talking about on that day, they had fight. There isn't any here. They're not going to bring this back. And he was right, and it went on to be 6.
Yeah.
And it's that, isn't it? That's character.
100%.
Do you know what I mean?
But it's funny. It's funny because you remind me of something I used to reference this frequently in the past, because there was an article I read once, and it's good timing because apparently his lad was on Kumas, who was on the bench for us the other day.
Yeah.
Is Jason Kumas's son.
Yeah.
Jason Kumas, who used to play for Tranmere. And I remember seeing an article once, and the headline was just something like, the difference between Jason Kumas and Steven Gerrard was not ability.
Oh yeah,
and it summed it up, didn't it? It was
watched him for Tranmere.
He was unbelievable. Growing up as a kid, that people were like, he's better than Gerrard. Jason Kumas is better than Gerrard. Look at their careers. So what was the difference then? If ability isn't the defining factor, what is it? If it's not character,
mentality, character,
exactly,
etc. Okay. Well, I mean, I was gonna sort of run through, the fixtures we've got coming up. Obviously, we've got Brentford at the weekend. Then we've got Luton. We're back to midweek games. So Saturday Brentford, Wednesday Luton at home. Then we've got the League Cup final, of course, against Chelsea. Southampton in the FA Cup. Forest. Then the City game that I was talking about, 10th of March. But rather than do that, I think we're on about an hour here. I didn't do any timing. I think we should talk about Alonso just because everyone is. Everyone wants to know Alonso. It's fucking nailed on. It's him, isn't it? I mean, he's gone to absolute odds on with the bookies. He's doing Bayern Munich over. They're second bottom when he takes over in October 2022. Now the top of the Bundesliga. 5 points clear, 13 games left. He's even doing a bit of a Klopp thing at the end of the game. Did you see that? All the players and the staff and going up to the fans and all that kind of stuff. I mean, obviously, there's still a lot of the season to go. 13 games, as I mentioned. They're literally in the same competition as us in terms of the Europa League. So nothing's going to be said.
It's got that written all over it as well, hasn't it?
I know, yeah. Nothing's going to be said. Nothing's going to be made official. Nothing's going to come out. But it just kind of feels when you look. I mean, we said it, didn't we, on the big 2-hour show that we did? You look at the long list and you're like, none of them really seem to fit. None of them, regardless of all the football aspects of it and how they play and the tactics and whatever. You look at him now, and especially after this, and you're just like, I want him. He fits. No one. I don't see if he's named Liverpool manager when Klopp leaves. I just can't picture the 7 voices really. Not many anyway. You know, like if you think about when Rodgers got it, there was loads. There was plenty that said what in his CV says he should get it. And look, there are some people saying that about Alonso. Like he hasn't managed for enough time. He hasn't won anything. Well, he might win something. He's got a great chance of winning the league here. But just it's beyond that, isn't it? It's about like, you know, there's all those things that you can't quite put your finger on about managers. I think about, like, you know, how they carry themselves, about the sort of the gravitas they've got and all that. And obviously, since now that we know Klopp's going, I won't be alone in you're looking at everything Alonso's doing and saying and how he's acting and how his team's playing. And they've just blown Bayern Munich away and they've got a great chance of winning the league. It's, like I say, it's going to be him, isn't it?
Yeah.
Surely.
Well, I said to you before we started recording, and I did in our 2-hour Klopp special, I did a long argument as to why Linders should be the next Liverpool manager. Going back to something you've mentioned in this show about the culture and not getting rid of all of that and all those people and all that. And I said to you, I've just changed my mind, which we're all at liberty to do. Do you know what I mean?
I'm all in on Alonso.
I'm just all in on Alonso. And it is because I think there's just a feel about Xabi Alonso, and I think the rest of Europe is looking at him going, he's the next fucking Messiah. Yeah. Like, he's the next Guardiola. I could picture him coming in and winning the league and playing against Guardiola and going, he's shite. Do you know what I mean? All of a sudden, I read a quote about him the other day saying he doesn't believe in formations. Like, just not a thing to him. Like, it's
Remember he said he didn't believe in tackling when he was at Liverpool?
We've referenced this before, but you know, all the players the great managers he's played under, all the great clubs he's played for, he's won everything, he's seen everything. He's clearly got his own idea of how it was done. I remember a few years ago, actually, Joe, if you plot his career as a manager, whilst all the noise has been around Gerrard and Lampard and Rooney and all this, I was just watching him like quietly in the background, very Xabi Alonso-esque, you know what I mean? Just rising. And I remember saying a few years ago, he's more likely to be next Liverpool manager than Gerrard because of like just quietly behind the scenes growing his career. What he's doing now, what he has done, is nothing short of miraculous. Like, to take a squad like that, a side like that, from where they were to where they are, playing the type of footy they do, to blow away someone like Bayern Munich with, you sent an article from the Times before, and they were saying like, and I've seen this in all of the other managers who are highly rated, Joe, managing smaller sides, they all come unstuck at some point. Like, the reality is, I think he mentioned Girona's manager, who's like, you know, highly rated young manager. And he's come up against Real Madrid and Carlo Ancelotti, and Ancelotti schooled him because Ancelotti's the big boy, the granddaddy and all that, the godfather. Well, Alonso was up against Tuchel. Yeah. So in that regard, you think, well, Tuchel will be able to just fucking pat him away tactically. And by all accounts, reading about what Alonso did in the game, it was the other way around. Yeah. He just fucking didn't know how to handle Alonso and the team he's put out and how he's gone about the game. And because of everything else, because of there are no other standout candidates, it's almost like the universe has just gone, it's got to be him. It's got to be. Yeah. And I just think one of my things about Linders, the arguments about Linders, and this is partly why I've switched, is it was the least risky. Like, appointing a new manager is a risky business. Appointing Linders is the least risky, because that was my argument, because you've still got the whole backroom staff. I think actually now appointing Alonso is the least risky one because of his background, because of the links with the club, because of what you just said. I think we need a manager off the back of Klopp that 99.9% of the fan base goes, I'm happy with that. Yeah, 100%. He's got our support. And I think even with Linders, there'd be a portion who would quietly be going,
he wrote a book,
it's not good enough. Yeah.
He wrote a book.
Well, those people would be that, wouldn't it? Yeah. Well, he's already told people how he plays. So that's not going to work, is it? Do you know what I mean? Whereas Alonso, I agree with you. I think it would be especially, he might not win the Bundesliga. I touch wood he does, because that'd be a nice way for him in his career to go out. But even if he finished runner-up with what he's done, it's fucking ridiculous. Yeah. This is the thing I was thinking about last night, thinking about that. People are referencing it as if he's just up against Bayern Munich. He's not. He's up against fucking RB Leipzig with their fucking money. He's up against Dortmund, who've been traditionally the powerhouse behind Munich for years. And he's blown all them away as well. it's not just Munich he's done this too. He's done it in the context of the entire league. I think they'd be exciting.
Leverkusen have never won the league. 5 times they've been runners up. I mentioned already, 5 points clear, 13 games left. Bayern only had 1 shot. The last time they had so few in a competitive game was April 2022. Leverkusen unbeaten in 31 competitive games in a row, 127 drawn 4, 1 game away from the record for a Bundesliga team. And they've got the 3rd best season of a Bundesliga team after 21 games. Only in 13-14 and 15-16 did Bayern have more points at this stage of the season. He's also unbeaten in his first 3 Bundesliga games against Bayern, 1-2, drawn 1. Even that, it just feels like, well, if you're going to come to Liverpool, we've just talked about it on the show here. Yeah. If you're going to come to Liverpool, you're going to have resource, you're going to be able to buy players. It's Liverpool, we're a big club, blah, 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 blah. But we won't have the resource that City have.
Yeah.
And you will be up against Pep Guardiola. And you will be up against their squad and their resource. And you need to not give a fuck about that. You need to not have reverence to them. You need to be like, fuck you, we're getting into here, we're winning, don't give a shit what you're doing, don't give a shit that you're breaking the rules, don't give a shit about 115 charges, fucking watch this. And that's what he's doing there. He's literally doing that there.
Yeah.
So fucking get him over here. Put him in charge and let's fucking go.
I'd love to see, Joe, because we were saying last week, like there's clearly behind the scenes all fucking data analysis been going on since they've known about Klopp in November, the backroom staff. I'd love to see their data analysis of Alonso compared to what they want in a manager, because that stuff you've just mentioned, I can just imagine like it's just all off the charts. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's the type of manager FSG want. They must be like, just fucking get him.
Yeah.
Because that is almost top of the list, isn't it? Who can get us to overperform so we can still compete? Because that's the bit Gary Neville and all them are like rubbing their hands with. Once Klopp goes, you'll see what your true fucking level is, because he's overperforming against City.
Yeah.
Well, you need someone who can fucking overperform against the powerhouse then.
Yeah. Bayern Munich, I think it's the sporting director, isn't it? I think was coming out over the weekend saying he's sure that Alonso will stay as their manager despite the links to Liverpool. Yeah, the sporting director it was. He said, yeah, I'm sure. One reason's the contract. The other thing is how comfortable he feels, the family himself, and that he knows what he has at the club. He has a very good team. We will have a very good perspective next year, and there's no change in the team, etc., etc., etc. I mean, that's all well and good, mate. But, they're not Liverpool. And he's been at Liverpool. He knows what the club's like. He's won the European Cup with Liverpool. He's seen how it can go off. He knows about the fans. He knows about the stadium. He knows about the area. I don't think a lot of what that fella's saying, like that's almost like what you want him to say. If he's asked that question, he's not going to go, oh, he's defo going, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Well, someone tweeted us like the opposite. Do you remember when they mentioned Hodgson and mentioned when Hodgson first took over to bring us down to earth? Someone, a reporter, a journalist in a press conference asked him, so is Anfield the greatest European atmosphere you've ever seen in your life? And he was just teeing him up for like just an easy soundbite, like a little tap in to get you into with the crowd and all that. Like, of course it is. It's unbelievable, Anfield, blah blah. And his answer was to suck air through his teeth. And the first thing that came out of his mouth was, "Well, Old Trafford's quite good. Old Trafford, fucking hell, mate. We couldn't have scripted a worse answer to this." And then he went on to say how Inter Milan and AC Milan and fuck off. So whenever I see an answer like that, you're like, what? It's funny that in the middle of that, he's basically mentioned the contract. He's under contract. So what I think he's saying there is, if you want him, you're going to have to fucking pay for him.
And we know that, don't we?
And you're like, well, that's just the way it is, isn't it?
We know that. But I'm sure now, I'm just like, it's going to be him. I just, like I say, you look at the list and you're like, okay, so he's odds on. And then De Zerbi's 5, Linda's is 10. And then we're into 8 and 9. And Nagelsmann's 9. Ow. Absolutely not. I mean, he wears body warmers.
Well, imagine if we appointed Nagelsmann instead of Alonso. The only reason, I did think this at the weekend, the only reason I don't think it's Alonso is if Alonso decides he doesn't want it.
Well, that's what we said on that 2-hour show, isn't it? About that's my doubt as well. And it's getting smaller. But whether he thinks career-wise it's the right way to go now, like the man following Klopp.
Yeah.
But I just think like...
I don't think he'll have that concern.
No.
Think about his playing career.
He'll back himself.
He went from Liverpool to Madrid, to Madrid to Munich. At no point was he going, will I get in that team? He'll go, of course it's the best time to fucking take over Liverpool when they're boss and they've got a boss squad.
Exactly.
Great, I'll do that.
Big grounds, etc., etc. I don't think he'll look at the negatives, just be like, bang, get me in there, let's go. Okay, well, that's been this week's Late Challenge. Thanks for watching or listening, depending on how you consume the show. If you are watching, do give the subscribe button a little click there on our YouTube channel, because that helps people see it. Click like as well. Lash a comment in there, good, bad or ugly, we will read it. Again, all of those things help people see it and help it grow, and hopefully mean we can keep on going with this whole thing. And then if you really like us and you really want to support us, and the place you can really make a difference is get yourself over to Patreon. You'll get an extra show every week if you sign up to that. You can sign up for nothing and have a free trial and see if it's for you. You can just do what I suspect some people are doing and just go, do you know what? I like this lad's stuff. I want them to keep going. I'm going to just go onto Patreon and essentially give them a bit of dough to help with the running of it all. That's appreciated too as well, if that's what you want to do. We're pretty sure some people are doing that. So yeah, all of those things will help us. Do all of those things, please. We are giving up a fair bit of our life and time to do these things. We enjoy doing so, but we need your support to keep it all going. We will be back next week with the free show. The Patreon is out later in the week for those who subscribe to that. And yeah, see you next week. Let us know what you want us to talk about. Should you have any thoughts on that as well? Like I say, we're always listening. Up to that.